And listen to this. In just hours, jury selection will begin in the Mississippi fraud trial of former WWE wrestler Ted Tobias Jr. He's accused of embezzling millions of dollars meant for the state's most disadvantaged families. Our next guest says Washington failed to act after he testified on Capitol Hill about welfare fraud over 2 years ago. Mississippi Republican Auditor Shad White joins us now. Mr. Auditor, thanks so much for joining the program.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
So tell me, how easy is it, I mean, because you've seen all of these fraud cases, to take advantage of the system right now?
It's incredibly easy, Lawrence. I mean, what happens is tons of federal money comes down to the states, and then that money is pushed out by grants in many cases. They go to third parties, so those third parties might be nonprofits or they might be child care centers. And I testified before Congress years ago and said all across the country there are systemic weaknesses in these programs and fraud is happening. Unfortunately, D.C. politicians did nothing. And now when we turn on our TV screens, we see fraud happening in Minnesota and lots of other places.
So, Shad, tell me about the program and what was that money meant for, and how was it that they were able to take advantage of these programs?
Well, here in Mississippi, we had a ton of money going to nonprofits, and then there was very little monitoring of those nonprofits. And what ended up happening is the heads of the nonprofits started doling out money both to the benefit of the folks who are running the state agency here in Mississippi, and then to the benefit of some of their friends. And I just say this too, this has been going on, I think, in multiple states around the country. And really what we needed was a president who would come into office, who's not afraid of being called names, who just wants to stop the nonsense that is happening to taxpayers. And that's why you see a big, bright light shining on fraud around the country right now. So,
Shad, real quickly, just to get a little bit more specific, if I go on LegalZoom or any other site, I can do my filing to get an EIN number from the federal government to be a nonprofit organization, right? Can anyone essentially do this without having the substance behind an organization? Long as they have that EIN number saying that they're a nonprofit organization, they can just request these funds without pretty much no oversight?
It depends on which state you're talking about, but you're exactly right. That's the first step. And what we found in Mississippi is that once those nonprofits were set up, there was very little questioning of what the money was actually going for. And so I said to Congress a few years ago, look, what we need agency heads in each state to attest to the outcomes that they get when they hand this money out. So tell us what those nonprofits are doing. If they say it's a workforce training program, you need sign-in sheets with names of individuals who have been helped. And then those agency heads need to be signing statements under penalty of perjury, attesting to what they're accomplishing. None of that is happening right now. And so that's the kind of thing that needs to change in Washington so that this fraud can be prevented everywhere around the country.
So, Shad, I know these businesses say that they're nonprofit. They were obviously taking advantage of the money. Is there any way of recouping that money back?
Yeah, I think here in Mississippi, what you're seeing is the state government suing multiple individuals to try to get some of that money back. And then of course, in multiple states, you see criminal cases. So here in Mississippi, we've had 7 folks who have pleaded guilty to either state or federal charges based on what we found. I think you'll see a ton of folks pleading guilty in Minnesota. This is the kind of thing that needs to happen now to send the strong message that there is accountability. And I think the Trump administration, whether it's through DOJ or whether it's through their Department of Justice, is leading the way on that.
I mean, it's truly incredible. I know you represent Mississippi, but it looks like other states should be calling you to figure out how to get to the bottom of this. Shad, thanks so much for joining the program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.